Okay, marhaba. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to this DC Arabic Teachers Council workshop. I'm Mimi Kirk of the Institute for Middle East Studies at George Washington University, which hosts these events that are generously funded by Qatar Foundation International. And today we have Sana Hilmi of Northern Virginia Community College, and she will present Reading Current Events in the Arabic Classroom. Now, Teresa Hale, my colleague, is here. Teresa, did you want to do a quick announcement or should I continue? There she is.
Hey, Mimi. Thanks for prompting me. Yes, we are just to jump on at the beginning and say welcome everyone. And we are hoping to host a curriculum development workshop based on the topic of this presentation. So I'll send a follow-up email with more information and application if anyone is interested. So we'll have this workshop in the next 1 to 2 weeks. And you can look out for an email with more information, and I'll drop my email in the chat too.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Teresa. Good to see you. All right, well, let me do just a quick introduction of our speaker, who we're so lucky to have, and then Sana, I'll give you the floor. So Sana Hilmi is Assistant Professor of Arabic at Northern Virginia Community College. Let me admit somebody here. She previously taught at George Mason University, where she coordinated the university's Arabic program for over 5 years and received a Title VI grant to create a minor in Arabic. And I know those Title VI grants are a lot. It's a huge thing to get that. So that's very impressive. She's taught a variety of online courses and created an Arabic 201 course on Blackboard before shifting to using Canvas. And Professor Hilmi has an MA in linguistics and a TESL certificate from George Mason. Okay, Sana, you have the floor, but I'm here if you need me.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I hope you are enjoying your day. It's cold. And also, I want to thank you for joining for a class that is in the middle of the day. So that's another thing. So today I am going to be talking about reading current events in the Arabic classroom. And I'll be honest with you that what happened is that when I decided to do it, I was thinking of the earthquake in Morocco. It's at the time when I was like, oh, there's the earthquake, there are a lot of other issues that's coming in, so let's do that. So now that things kind of went more than just the earthquake, a lot of other crises, I thought this would be interesting to also focus on what we want to bring to class. Before I start, are you able to see the reading current events in the Arabic classroom as a full screen? Just want to make sure, because I have 3 screens. I want to make sure that yes?
I can see. Yeah.
Okay, the full, okay. All right. So for the topic, I would like to talk about the positive atmosphere. This is the most important thing before we go into the other course materials in class. I want to make sure that we show inclusion. We might think we are, but maybe we're not. We want to just make sure we do that. We want to choose the correct topics and relevant to the actual class, of course, the levels, and assign suitable homework. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to do is get this audio back to. Hold on, oh yeah, it is.
Number 9, positive classroom atmosphere.
Can you hear it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Students need a safe and supportive learning environment, especially when learning a foreign language. As their teacher, it's your responsibility to create a positive climate in which they can learn, practice, and flourish without fear. While you need to draw attention to certain language errors, you can't be too critical or judgmental. Under no circumstances should you have an ironic or discouraging tone. A positive classroom environment is one in which students feel comfortable sharing their thoughts, taking risks, asking questions, and confronting challenges in their learning. An educator can create this type of environment by presenting clear, classroom expectations, providing opportunities to improve social skills, building relationships with their students, and offering relevant content. In this type of classroom setting, students feel as though educators value their input. From here, students can become more active participants in the learning process, which makes for a more productive learning environment. Build rapport by greeting students by their names and taking time to interact with each one individually. I like to ask students a question about their lives when they enter class. That gets them to open up and shows them that I care. It breaks the ice as they start speaking sooner rather than later. Hi, how are you today? What did you do yesterday? Anything special happening this week? Have high but realistic academic expectations for all students. Establish clear and consistent behavioral expectations. Encourage collaboration because it can lead to more engaging classes. Establish routine. A lot of children thrive on having a dependable daily routine in some aspect of their lives. Knowing what to expect when they walk into your classroom can create a sense of normalcy for students. Set rules and expectations. Provide guidelines such as classroom rules and expectations is an important way to let students know what behavior is acceptable. Reframe mistakes as learning opportunities. Mistakes are teachable moments and can help students learn how to cope with future mistakes and failures and feel more comfortable taking risks. Use humor. Humor helps students feel comfortable and at ease in the classroom. However, make sure you keep the mood positive and avoid sarcasm. Help students access the support they need. Students should feel free to ask you questions about the content or activities. A positive classroom environment is one where students are able to express their feelings. Encourage students to let you know if they or their peers are feeling overwhelmed or stressed. Help them learn to ask for what they need.
Okay, so maybe you would think, what does that got to do with the lesson that we have? Well, you're going to give them certain reading materials, and then you want to let them know that this reading material has this assignment, okay? And the reading material might not be something that they want to read about, or it might be something that they have a lot of other ideas that were not your ideas. So always remember to allow them to ask questions. Let them give you feedback if they want to, right? So that's very important, because if you start with the positive atmosphere from the beginning, it's not difficult to give them a difficult content or something that is not what they thought it would be, especially if it is something like a war zone or something, right? So that's about the positive atmosphere. Now what we need to do is that part of the positive atmosphere is you want to think about the students back the surface that we see. So I attended one of the workshops at Flava, and it was really nice. He was talking about the culture iceberg and how we'd always forget that the culture that we see, that is not everything. And the reality is, the deeper, the more sophisticated, and the bigger. See what I'm saying? Like, look at this. The surface is very, little, okay? But the deeper is more. And the reality is that when he showed us this, I was like, the reality is we can't go that deep. That's reality. You can't deep that much. But you could always go to at least less deep, a bit of the depth. That's only if you have a positive atmosphere, you can get to know the students very well, okay? You have to acknowledge their backgrounds and their differences, and we have to recognize that. So when you choose your topic for reading, you have to put it in mind is that, what were they thinking when they're going to read it? What will they say about it? And be sensitive about what we have that you're going to bring them for reading topics, right? And topics that you want to bring, also you want to bridge the gaps between the students and their beliefs. You don't want to make it more sophisticated. So we do have a lot of things that we want to show to students, and we want to talk about a lot of issues. But is that issue going to make them more diverse and divided, or is it going to put them all together and say, oh yeah, I see that? Okay, so the most important thing is that you get to know your students and not only focus on the surface of the culture. We want to get further, right? So again, the surface of the culture, we get to see students. We know probably where they're from, what kind of religion, probably the festivals, the music. The shallow culture, again, if you have a positive atmosphere with students, you could be able to get to that as well. They might come in upset that something happened at home, they couldn't do the homework. They might tell you about what happened when they were kids, or they're not doing well as health or something. That is also something we could get into, but the deep structure is very difficult to reach. And again, when you get an article you want to read to students, or let them read it, you want to think about, there are things that I don't know about that student. Well, maybe I don't want that one. Maybe I don't want to talk about, for example, this illness, because that student hasn't been in class and they don't want to open sad topic, for example. Okay. Again, you want to avoid the topics or the assignments that could strike a chord, even yours. Okay, right? I mean, sometimes you open a topic and they're like, oh my God, I didn't mean to open that topic, right? You don't want students to criticize it, and you don't want to criticize students' outcome. That's the other thing, right? You want to control your emotions. That's something that is very important. When you bring an assignment, forget about your emotions, forget about your thoughts, because you're giving it to a group of students who are different and might challenge you and might say, well, I'm not sure if I agree. And here's why, right? And again, my students are college students. It's going to be more challenging. Yours might be kids, they're just going to take it and, will accept it. And don't expect much. That's the other thing. Again, you want to have high expectations, but don't show that you are disappointed because they didn't reach to what you were saying. For example, let's say you give them an assignment based on a reading, and then the assignment didn't, let's say you want a paragraph and they ended up writing 3 sentences, assuming that that's a paragraph, right? Don't make it more like my expectations were, but maybe you want to reach to that moment when, oh, okay, let's go over them, And so again, be clear on the assignment, but high expectations are great, but don't show them that you are disappointed that, what you have. And don't have judgments. So let's say you have a group of students who are, let's say, they're all Arabs. If you're going to bring the Arab-Israeli conflict, don't expect that everybody's going to side with you or side against someone. Expect that everybody has the right to have an opinion. And that's really important. Expectation is a problem. Another one, for example, if I'm going to talk about hijab and everybody's Muslim, I'm not going to assume that everybody's going to say, yeah, hijab, everybody has to wear hijab. No. This is a class that has a lot of diversity, opinions. I have to accept anything and everything because that's the idea of the class, freedom of speech, opinion. And, you could always ask students if they have a lengthy, argument. You could always tell them, come to my office because we're running out of time, for example, okay? And don't put anyone in a situation where they're going to be defensive, because that's the time when students are going to be attacking. Maybe someone's going to feel like they're in the hostility, and that's what you don't want to do. So again, think of the topic that you want to bring or the reading and think about it. What about the others? Do I only have one student who is not Muslim? I'm talking about the Muslims festivals. If it is, then maybe I'm going to do both, Christmas and Eid, for example. Okay. So I read this article and I thought it was really nice, explaining what is it to explain with to be defensive. Avoid being defensive. Okay, you explain something, you're just giving, this is what happened, just facts, and you're just trying to break the story, making it very simple for other people to understand the situation or to understand what happened. But the defensive is a problematic. Why? Because you're almost saying, this is okay what happened. Or you know what, the viewpoint is more like, yeah, I am supporting this. For example, let's think about there's this wedding that got burned in Iraq. There's 1,000 people in a wedding, and there's that burn and fire. I mean, if you're going to come back and say, well, it's their fault, they brought some fireworks, but then you're justifying something that, okay, it burned, but the reality is the whole building was built wrong, for example. So you want to avoid being like reality is you want to avoid showing your ideas and opinion, because students will be afraid or not have comfortable saying their opinion. So I would recommend that you hide it. At the same time, you don't want to justify something that is difficult to justify, or that is not everybody's justification. This is not this is news. Okay, this is not like a realistic story. So and so once went in and killed so and so. This is not like that. It's a politics or social crisis or events that's happening. Okay, so again, you want to explain the situation. You don't want to be defensive. If you're going to become defensive, then you're going to have to start giving evidence and proving that you're right, which you don't want to do. Okay, and once you do that, then you're going to get more criticism. And remember, the topic is not you. The topic is the article that we're reading, the language that we want to learn from that reading material. And the topic could be also the situation that we just read, right? Another thing that you want to do is that if you feel that the topics are controversial and people would be arguing, I would highly recommend, and you really want to bring it, I would highly recommend you put it at the end. You have other articles. Start with simple, and then go with the most the most complicated. Why? Because you want to kind of test students, right? Okay, so things that you want to do also before reading is prepare students to read. You can't bring students who just learned the alphabet and say, okay, here's the article, of course, but also you want to prepare them what they're going to read. And that's something almost like if you give them an article, or sometimes I tell students, if you want to go ahead and read, yeah, why not? You can do that. But then they come back with a culture shock. Oh my God, I found this and and they get upset. So you want to prepare them to read. We got to read some, one-on-one textbooks. They got used to reading it. They got used to reading it without the harakat, or they still need the harakat. Then you want the article to have that harakat, the accent markers, that is. Okay, let's say you're going to tell them, okay, guys, we're going to talk about Saudi, that Saudi Arabia is now getting a lot of players from all over the world. Okay, just prepare them. Okay, this way they won't go reading something from zero. They know that this topic is about those group of, players who are now playing in Saudi Arabia, and this is what they're doing. So prepare them for what they're reading. And make sure to have the paragraph that they're reading with harakat accent markers if they haven't learned yet the accent markers, okay? Also, it's a good idea if you get to know your students, you would know if they have certain interest. And if they do, let's say the majority of them like soccer, maybe that's the topic that you want to bring before something else. Let's say students are interested in geography. Oh, maybe I can bring this topic, about geography, and this might be of their interest, especially at the beginning. You want them to like reading. You want them to like Googling other, readings that are actually more sophisticated. Okay. And you want to always keep in mind the level. Okay. There are times when you end up having a class that are different levels. So we really want to think about who's the true beginners, who's the one that's really the right place. Okay. And I don't recommend that you ask them to read it in class unless you've done that so many times and they're ready to do it. So you might want to put them into, if you're doing Zoom breakout rooms, otherwise groups, that makes them more comfortable in many ways. And also when you do the readings, if you have, let's say 102, there are times when you have about the food. And you have lesson about the food, then probably bring an article about the food. You have a lesson about characters. Okay, might want to talk about the character. You have a lesson about clothes. Maybe talk about the fashion. Okay, so that if you have that opportunity, why not? I tell you, with the way that we're teaching right now, a lot of it hybrid or online, it's very difficult to have all of that. But it's not a bad idea if you really have that time frame. It's really nice if you just have like 3 articles within the semester. One is about the clothes because we don't talk about food because we're going to talk about it. Let's say house, building houses. What do you have in the house? Decor, maybe. Okay. Another thing you might want to think about is introducing them to the news. Okay. What's popular news for us? We really have BBC Arabic that's been old, very old. And unfortunately, the radio has just stopped recently, but it's very popular. And you can have it in English or in Arabic, but we have the BBC Arabic.com. It's very interesting. It's like the BBC in any, in English, right? You also want to, we have the Arabiya and you have a Jazeera, and you might want to tell them this is like almost like CNN or MSNBC. Something else you want to also let them know, which is very important, is remind them that there's a diversity of the reporters. And some students forget that though we all are talking in modern standard Arabic and all of these news and sometimes classical Arabic, they're actually coming from different countries. And that makes them more of like, oh, you know what, this person's from Morocco, but I can understand that person. Well, it's the modern standard Arabic that allowed you to do that. Also gives them the reality that Arabs are united. We might fight, we might have some issues within ourselves, but the reality is, at the end of the day, we're sitting together doing those news. And at the end of the day, the news is actually like that person from this country is actually just showing you the negativity of the same country that they come from. Okay. You hear a lot of documentaries about, for example, the atmosphere and the pollution in Iraq, for example, by someone from Iraq. Normal. That's what they do, right? And so on. So the diversity allows other students, especially Arabs, to kind of like that idea. That they won't say, oh, I just want to, because I'm from Lebanon, I want only Lebanese news. Or I'm from Egypt, I want only Egyptian. This is all, right? Another thing I put Sharq al-Awsat because it's very, very popular. Sharq al-Awsat newspaper. It's very well known that the first page is green. Again, it's all about the fact that it might come in, it is coming from Saudi Arabia, Al Jazeera coming from Qatar, but it's covering everybody, and it has hired people from all over the world. Okay, when choosing a topic, I think that's the most sensitive issue I feel for a lot of people. Okay. Besides the level that you're teaching, it is what's the message that you want to give to that student. That is the most important part, because students will never think that you're giving them a reading. No, they won't. I mean, we've all been students, and we know once you go to college, you're going to say that teacher got this book, right? And I've been in a class where I couldn't stand it. I had to leave because that book was insulting the Prophet, and it's women in Islam. And I always say, this faculty is the one who chose that book, right? What's the message that she was trying to do? I mean, it's been over, what, 20 years? But I will always think about it this way. So please remember that there is no such a thing that the student will not think of the message that you make. And don't ever think about the message being only the message that you want to give. That's another problem that we have. For example, if I'm going to talk about the Tigris River and the Euphrates River is right now it's almost dry. Okay, I'm talking about Iraq River drying. I might end up, this is my message, it's drying. I might end up having a Turkish student saying, what's your message? Is it because we have the dams? What do you want us to do? I don't want that conversation in my class. But yeah, he's right. I mean, because a lot of people are pointing out with the dam. We don't want that, right, in class. So what's the message? Go deeper in the message. Don't think of it as a surface. Think about it. What if the other person would think this way? I don't want it. I'm not going to do that I'm not going to talk about the water unless I know that I'm also talking about something else, right? Also, you don't want to portray the Arabs with what we all know about. Okay, if I'm going to talk about, let's say, the desert in the Arab world, well, we all know there's a desert. We don't want to feed that stereotype or feed that issue, right? We don't want to, we don't want to put more stories that everybody knows about. Cosmetic surgeries in the Arab world. Well, we know there are so many cosmetic surgeries in the Arab world. I'm not going to talk about, Nasia Ajram or Haifa, and let's talk about cosmetic surgeries, right? I don't want to feed that culture. I don't want to feed that stereotype. We want to get them out of the stereotype to see the other side of the world, right? And that's important. And so, again, when you look at that topic, think about it. Okay, what's my message? Is my message will be heard clearly, or is it going to be understood differently because I have diverse of students, right? Am I feeding that stereotype, right? Am I putting more, stories upon the story that they already heard about? Okay. And also bring, you might want to start with something that's simple to the point, just to test students. Are they going to accept it? Are they going to have problem with a simple topic? Then probably want to avoid the more complicated topics. Okay. So other things that I've realized about readings is that, okay, so you chose that topic. You want to make it clear in reading because honestly, I mean, there are situations that you read and you're like, oh my God, never thought about it. I'm teaching an ESL course, reading ESL. One of the questions that they have in the discussion board, what do you like to read? When you were young until now, what do you like to read? So one student said, do I like reading? I've been wearing my glasses since I was 7. Of course I don't like reading. And really hit me. And I haven't been wearing these glasses that long. And just for reading, and I've been frustrated about reading because of that. And it's true, you want to have a readable topic. And sometimes you get that newspaper and you're like, oh my God, those fonts are so small. So if you can copy it and paste it and make it at least 16 points font, it would be much better. And that's a simple thing, but it's really I was shocked with that student who said that, but she's so true, right? We want to have it clear. We want to have a big font. We want to have accent markers. You want to make sure that people can actually, when they read it, they can see it because the font is clear. Some fonts are not clear. And you might want to have we don't have capital letters. And when I teach students Arabic 101 and I have a quiz and there's a paragraph, I take the proper names and put it in bold, just so that they don't look out the word Nadia. Nadia fi madrasa. They keep thinking that Nadia is something like another word for bint or tali, but no, it's a girl's name. So I just put Nadia in bold, for example. Okay, that is very useful. I've taught before doing that, and one student said, I've been trying to look for this name in the dictionary. I didn't know. Like, whoops, it was a name. You don't have capital letters. Okay. One of my favorite website is Tashkil. I'm not sure if everybody had used Tashkil, but I can show you how to use it. And you want to pay attention to the punctuations, because if you use it, you're going to notice that the period is going to have a space and then period. Okay. And also the titles, they're going to all jammed all together. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just go to that. Let me know if you can you see the actual new website, the Shakili? This is what I literally did. I took a topic about Alexandria, Alexandria. Okay, Control, copy, and then I'm just going to go put it here. Control V. Now it says تشكيل كامل. You have 3 options. تشكيل كامل, تشكيل أواخر الكلمة, تشكيل إلزامي. I'm going to just make it a little bit small. Okay. I chose تشكيل كامل just to show the difference. If the تشكيل, there it is. Put everything together. Notice that even the title with all of it, almost all of the harakat are there. But notice that there's an actual space between amen and the comma. So you need to redo it. Make sure that you don't have that space between the word and the comma, right? Let's do تشكيل أواخر الكلمة and نبدأ التشكيل. Notice that they just have the أواخر الكلمة. It's really nice. But the reality is I don't like أواخر الكلمة because I want to tell students, don't worry about إعراب. This is the last thing I want to do. The problem with تشكيل كامل, it was too much.
Oh.
But I'm going to go with تشكيل إلزامي. That's nice. تشكيل إلزامي, some of them. That's nice. Students won't get, too sophisticated. They can read it. It's nice, right? What you don't want to do, you don't want to copy and paste this one because you're going to have the whole background, that gray background there. What you do is you go to نسخ. And then, I'm not sure if could you see the طراز الإسلامي واليوناني? Or do you want me to stop the share? Let me just stop the share. I'm just going to share this one. So I did the, I wanted to kind of copy and paste it here. And then Control V. There it is. And again, what you're going to see is that there is a lot of things that you need to work on. For example, you want to get rid of that space.
Mhm.
You see it?
Yeah.
You want to get the topic. أمراض 200 عام سر اللوكاندا الحمراء في الإسكندرية. That's the actual topic, and I'm going to have to work on breaking it. Okay. You want to make sure all the topics are there. There's another topic. Okay. And there's indent. Well, everything came out left to right. I'm going to clear it by going to home. And there it is. Okay. Hala, I see her hand.
Yeah. What is the difference between الإلزامي والكامل?
أو الكامل every single letter.
Okay.
الإلزامي شدة فتحة ضمة المهمة.
Okay.
Like think about على. الإلزامي would have had a فتحة on the على, but we're assuming that everybody know how to read على.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. So some words or the majority of words,
The
معظم
words that are really, like in other words, like عن doesn't have the فتحة or the عين.
Mhm.
Assuming that your students know that عن has a فتحة. Let me show you. You know what? Let me show you this.
Yeah. I noticed
I did all of
جمع
them.
doesn't have any.
I did all of them.
طراز. So جمع doesn't have any.
This one.
Mhm.
Do you see this? Like every single letter. Like here has a كسرة and a فتحة on the ياء. عبارة كسرة فتحة on the باء, and we already know there's a فتحة before the alif, right?
نعم.
عن with the فتحة.
Mhm.
But the important ones would not have a فتحة on the عين and the سكون on the nun. And it's really up to you. I mean, if you feel comfortable using this, that's fine. I literally did all the three. This is all of it. And the ilzami comes in small. This is how the ilzami is.
Yeah.
And this is the actual article. Nothing. Basically, this is the actual article.
Excellent. صراحة ممتاز. Mhm.
Yeah. So what I did, I actually put the three of them, and then I thought, and I'm going to show you what I did for this assignment, and then we'll go back to the slides. So here's what I did. First of all, I created questions. And the questions are based on the grammars that they've already learned. For example, استخرج من المقطع. You read the paragraph, we're going to read it, and there's things that we want you to search. نسبة. الاسم مبني عليها. So let's say there are so many. And I made the answers according to the colors. I did the blue. So what I did, for example, تسعينيات. تسعيني, that's نسبة. ألف نون is ألف تاء is the plural. تسعيني from تسعين, and تسعيني, that means 90s, right? For example, we have Islami from Islam, Islamic. Yunani, Greek, but Yunani is Greece though. Arabiya, Arabic. Tarihi, historic. Misri, Egyptian. So students, the assignment in here is telling them, you've learned all of that. You might come back and say, this is a lot of reading. But once you realize the amount of nisba in this article, and you can't take it out, you're going to realize that probably 20% of this article was nisba. And now you got to know it and easily read it. Another one I put is أسماء المدن والدول والشوارع. It's really nice. Why? Because you get to know that Alexandria is not Alexandria, it's Al-Iskandariya. Egypt is not Egypt, it's Misr. Yunan is not Yunan, it's, not Greece, it's Yunan, so on. So things like that, I felt that for 100 level, 101, my students know Nisba, and they know that أسماء المدن والدول. Now they just want to be able to read it and identify it, right? Alwan would be fun. I mean, if you didn't teach Alwan colors and you're still in 101, you could actually put the colors. There's Abyad, Aswad, Ahmar. You could literally put the colors and say, find these words. And now they're actually looking for the word, the letters, identifying them. Huruf al-jar, prepositions. There's so many of them. I mean, we have so many fees that I kind of got tired of coloring all the fees in here. But it's really 101. Really, I mean, fi, ila, ala, those are like a 101 simple. Okay, and again, still we're not even going to start reading it or just defining it, so students won't come back and say, I didn't really understand anything. They're not going to say that anymore because they're going to see they understood so much before even getting to, deep. If you have 1 or 2 students, you might be able to do Masadr, gerund, because that's where I teach students. You could tell them, bring up the adjectives that are not nisba, that too. Now they're going to learn about why is the adjective feminine? Why is it not masculine? What about the tafdils? They're masculine and feminine. Idafa, that's more kind of a game because now you have 2 words. Okay, af'al. So part of the assignment is not only like read it and let's talk about it, but even the grammar. Because again, the grammar would show them that it's not grammar anymore. It's vocabulary. Nisba is vocabulary. Alwan is vocabulary. Yeah, adjectives, you want to see how they are, matching with the number and the gender, but it's actually vocabulary, okay? And again, the topic was about this lukanda, and let me just show you the actual article. This is the actual article, okay? And what I liked about this is, okay, it actually has that video, and I'm just going to show it a little bit because you have students who don't like to read. Okay, here you go. And this is from X. This video.
البيت اسمه اللوكاندا الحمراء. اللوكاندا الحمراء تاريخ كبير وعريق وعتيق، لأنها من عمر 150 فيما أكتر من كده بالذات. اللوكاندا من أقدم الأماكن في غرب اسكندرية، مبنية على الطراز الإسلامي واليوناني، لصاحبها اليوناني كوستا كومباناس. كوستا أسسها عن طريق شركة هندسية مبنية.
Okay, so again, the article is pretty interesting. It kind of be long a little bit, but again, with the questions, students looking at colors, prepositions, nisba, it's almost going to shrink. The vocabulary are really not that sophisticated. And again, if you look at the names, there's so many names inside this article. And that's what students want to know. They want to just have an article that they can define a lot of words without even looking at the actual dictionary or Googling the meanings. Something else that I would also recommend, that you give them that, it's really important because you want to tell them, listen to it. You also can hear the water. It's like you're inside Alexandria right now. I've never been to Alexandria, but I love the fact that I'm listening to the water, seeing what's going on, rather than, oh, okay, there's just an image. So that's one of the articles that I wanted to show you. And let me just go back to the particular article. Okay. So another thing that I did is just other questions that I put is more like أين تقع منطقة mix. ما معنى مباني تراثية. Again, now we're going a little bit higher. Okay. And it depends. Like if you have intermediate high, then these are questions really good. Do you want them to answer in English or Arabic? Vocabulary. What I did with the vocabulary, I wrote the English words. I don't want them to look for the Arabic words. And I told them, match these vocabulary with all the words. So age, you have asr, fatra, zaman, right? You have province, it could be muhafadha, it could be mantaqa, dina. And again, all of that, it's going to end up being more like all the words that matches. Okay, and I started liking the idea that I give the English words rather than the Arabic words, because they're going to have to read that article. If I don't do that, unfortunately, they won't read that article. Okay, so that's one of the topics that I talked about. And let me see where I can, oh, there it is. It's interesting when you have 3 different screens. I'm like, where was I? Oh, there's this. No, not this one. Oh, wow. Okay. Okay. So that's the tashkil. Okay. I try to do my best. If I'm going to have to put the harakat myself, I try to avoid putting harakat on the vocabulary that I'm aware of already. And I would tell students, let's say you're beginning a level, okay? Tell students just to read that, if you really want to do it, just tell students just read the titles. Don't go beyond that, just the titles, okay? Also for you, when you read an article, I would just recommend that you only list the most frequent words rather than the ones that are new to the students. Because that's the one that's going to keep on bumping, right? And again, I would recommend that political crisis would be at the end if you really want to put that. Because again, you wanted them to like reading. You don't want them to say, oh no, not again, right? Another article, okay? So when you go to the high beginners and intermediates, now they don't need the harakat for every single word. They probably can read better. They're going to be aware of what to expect, right? They know that the articles don't have harakat, right? They have read some stuff already. So it's okay to put it more complicated. It's okay to have less harakat. It's okay to bring lengthier articles, but you don't want it to have it too long that the time frame is going to be too short for them to go over, okay? Don't always provide meanings to all of it, right? And I would recommend that you could always tell students, okay, so for example, we read about the pollution of the sea. Show me another article in the United States, in English, in the United States, that also talks about it. Do they have the same, let's say, conclusions? Do they have the same issues? What else are they talking about, for example? Okay. And it would be nice because now they're going to think about it. Oh, it's a similar article or similar issues that we have, right? When you get to the intermediate, students have seen all the authentic materials. This is nothing new. They probably have done a lot of search in the websites and read a lot of the materials. So having a little bit controversial issues is not going to be as bad as beginners or low intermediate. Also, you want to ask them more sophisticated, assignments. So, okay, you have the article, give me a summary. Or bring the article yourself. And that's I think that was the fun when I did my ESL. I took an ESL course a long time ago. And the instructor did this. Every week we have every 2 weeks, we have an actual topic. Sports. Okay, sports. Get an article from the newspaper. Okay, cut it. Tell me where, the date and the title of the article. So that's the citation. And then write a summary about it. I chose the article. I chose it short. Other students might want to have a long. So it was my choice. Almost like I blame myself if the article turns out to be too complicated, right? But it's their students' choice. but your title. Today's sport, tomorrow's economy, another day is going to be celebrities, another day war anywhere in the world, another day is going to be health issues. They're going to choose the article. They're going to summarize it, and they're going to give it to you. If you're doing, if the class is all like on Canvas, if you have Canvas or Blackboard, think about it. Do you want to do it as a discussion board? Why not? If you feel that it's going to be fun to have a discussion board, you could make it more interesting by saying, and please comment on 2 students to get the full grade, for example. Okay. Or if it is in class, you could tell them, okay, we're going to get you to sit with a group, 3 students together, and share each other's articles that you read. Okay. And again, you could always tell students, why don't we, check out the other, let's say you're talking about Ronaldo's latest goal. It was pretty interesting, fascinating. What about the American news? Whoops, American news, not talking about soccer, right? I mean, that too is another culture shocking, right? So it's a way to tell students, here we go, it's yours. Show me what you want to bring. And I think it would work better intermediate than the beginners. That's my personal opinion. Let me see if I can. Okay. So online discussions, one of the assignments that I do, again, let the student have their own topic. Okay, so for example, I'll tell students, okay, I want you to post one piece of news that happened today, just today. Okay, so student posted. Other students in Canvas, other students can see his post before posting. The deal is this: you are not allowed to do the same news. Give me something else, another piece of news, or wait another day. Okay, so now you have a bunch of news, but the second assignment, so you already have one assignment. Students have to post. Make sure they do not repeat the post. The last students to post will be in trouble because they're gonna have to read all the posts before, right? The second assignment is that each student has to respond to 2 students. Now they're gonna have to read something that the others posted. If they're beginners, just tell them post the title. That's it. For my students, they were like low intermediate. So post the title in 2 sentences. That's it. That's all what I want. Okay. And of course, in the intermediate, you're going to say, you're going to respond with 2 sentences or 3 sentences, right? And then the third assignment, what you want to do is you're going to go to another 2 students and compare yours or somebody else with another one. Let's say 2 students talked about 2 celebrities. This person was wearing so interesting clothes, or another person, or the celebrity just had a baby. Okay, compare them. Oh, that person, let's say, okay, those 2 celebrities, each one is coming from a different country, but it seems like they are the same age, for example. Of course, it's not going to be celebrity. Most likely the topics will be the countries, right? Okay, the war in Sudan and the war in maybe Syria. Okay. I mean, you don't know what they're going to write, right? You're just moderating it, but compare and contrast means that you're going to read it and get more in depth, right? And again, that would be like an intermediate or advanced levels, okay? And again, for beginners, you don't want to give them a hard time. Just tell them, copy and paste that title. Something to always tell students every single semester, remind them that they have to indent from the right to left. This is something, it's almost like a skill, but it makes a lot of difference, especially for the beginners. They don't know, they don't realize that when they don't do that, sometimes the word's going to go wrong order. And so you might want to show them that as well, okay? And also you could tell students, you know what? Reply to others in English. You don't have to write it in Arabic. Just tell them that you saw it, you read it, it's an interesting article. Even if it is in English, that's fine, okay? Another thing you could also do is that you could also ask them to post an event. Okay, events are very interesting. It's not news, it's really an event. Oscar. Okay, how do the Arabs talk about the Oscar? How do the Arabs talk about the Mondial? How do the Arabs are going to talk about the expo that's going to be in Saudi Arabia? Just an event, okay? Because most of us know the events. And for beginners, they might not realize that we also are interested in events in the United States, right? Or in the world, right? And again, it would be the date, time, and place. Again, this is going to be really good way to get the students to also consider other events in the Arab world. What's going on, right? Riyadh, Mawsim Riyadh. Riyadh season has become the most popular right now in the Arab world. Do your students know about it? Probably not. Well, that's an event that I probably want to tell students, you know what? Today we're just going to write about Mawsim Riyadh. Give me one thing about Mawsim Riyadh that has happened. Okay. You could also go further and say, put pictures describing those events, right? Even Christmas in the Arab world. You know, Christmas is coming soon. That's a New Year. 2 events you can just say, let's show me other countries how they're celebrating. Okay. And again, you want to list some of the maybe magazines. That's something that a lot of students come back to me and say, tell me some other articles that are popular. I'll be honest with you, these are very popular, though a lot of them are Saudi. Majalat al-Arabi, it's like a reading digest, reader digest, I think they call it. And Majalat Majid, I don't know if it's still there. I don't have kids, so I don't know if it's still there. But really, I mean, those Majalat Majid, I mean, we laugh at it, but the reality is, it is so good for students who are learning Arabic. Because they have the harakat a lot of times, the big font, pictures, you know. I mean, reality is, I tell students, I know you're early 20s or early 30s. You're going to go back like a child writing, you know. But reality is, if you do that, you're going to be a quick learner. Because those are, you know, this is how students learn when they're kids. And this is why they do better, because they don't think that, oh, what am I doing? No, this is, if you do that, you're going to get to learn faster than the others. Okay. Some other things that I kind of realized that, like, Ahlan wa Sahlan. Okay, if you have Ahlan wa Sahlan, lesson 9, they talk about articles and reading articles. So it's really nice because now you're actually telling them, okay, we're going to know vocabulary about reading and new journals and newspapers. Also, Al-Kitab al-Asasi, part 1, it does have a very nice chapter about someone's reading the newspaper and they go by chapters. I think, personally speaking, if you really have a class that is running for a long time, and our classes are very short, once a week, this article will be really nice. I mean, for us, my understanding, you are allowed to share 10% of the textbook, and I believe if you just have those 3 or 4 pages, this is not going to be 10%. This is going to be less than 10%. It's really nice. And it's almost like I'm going to prepare you to read by just reading an article that's fake until we go to the real one. There is a PDF in the old version for Al-Kitab, and there's a PDF for Ahlan wa Sahlan, old version. Okay, the old version is the old version, but at the same time, I don't know anything about their copyright. Okay, but if you if it is copyright acceptable, why not? If you really don't want them to buy, you don't want them to make a copy of it, why not? I don't know. Okay, there are the citations, and do I have more time? Do you have time?
Yes, and it's 2:30. If others can stay, feel free to go on for another 15 minutes or so. Does that sound good?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I'm just gonna switch the things that I want to show you. I hope this is the right one. Oh, yes. Okay. This one is another topic, which is Syria. Okay. This is a topic that I kind of like to do because we talked a lot about zilzal, right? And I did the same thing. I took the copied it, and I can't remember where I got it from, but here's the actual article. Can you see the article? Or do I need to stop and share?
We see the Word document, if I'm not mistaken.
You see IFRC? Okay, let
This
me.
is the Word document.
Yeah, there's the word
Okay.
document.
Okay, this one. So this is where I got it from. Okay. I just Googled some information about Syria, and this is the old issue that they had. Okay, they had one picture. And again, no harakat, very good font. And again, all what I did is I took it, put it in the tashkil just because I really know my students are not going to be able to read it. And I went in and I did with the tashkil. And so it came out this way because I didn't want to have all the tashkil. I just did the most important tashkil. Okay. The article talks about زلزال 7.7 and something else 6 فبراير شباط الهلال الأحمر الصليب الأحمر في سوريا. Very short article. And again, it's the same thing. You have so many vocabulary that if students just learn few words, they're going to see that it is very simple reading. What I did is I did this. I put find the meanings of the phrases instead of words. هزات ارتدادية، مرافق الصرف صحيح، مستلزمات منزلية، بيئة إنسانية معقدة. I really liked it. It is for advanced. As a vocabulary, it's advanced.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's that moment you're telling the student who's in the high, mid, advanced, I don't want you to read one word. I want you to see both of them together, what's going to happen. هزات, okay, shaking, but هزات ارتدادية. مرافق, okay, we could have a lot of مرافق, but this one, صرف الصحي. So as a phrase, get to know that there's some phrases are going to give you different meanings, right? Another topic that I thought about would be really interesting is there a significance between those words. What is the significance between Hilal al-Ahmar and Salib al-Ahmar? That's a culture. That's religion, culture, belief, a country's thing, right? You don't see Salib al-Ahmar in the Arab countries as much as you see Hilal al-Ahmar. Students might knock your door and say, is there a difference? Well, let's talk about it. Right? Hazza and Zilzal. Zilzal is real. Hazza could be like in the, I mean, we use it also. Uh-huh.
Shaking.
Yeah, shaking, right? And you could also use it for anything. Has, like even dancing, we use it, right? فبراير وشباط. What's the difference? I mean, most of the North Africans would say فبراير. Iraq, nobody says فبراير. We say شباط. And those, like these, again, these are topics that it's not just vocabulary. It is a culture. It's why the Iraqis and Syrians say شباط. Tell them فبراير, they're gonna like, what was that? Like that, really, right? So again, it is a topic that is short, but it gives you a lot of other things. Other things you want to do also, again, plural. What's the type of plural? There's so many plurals, a verb and their tenses, right? This, the adjectives. And again, you could have more. Create 2 questions. And I really like the idea of creating questions from an article because they're going to have to read the article. And then what I do usually, I tell them, okay, now that you created the article, I'm going to put you in a group and you're going to ask each other that question and let the, answer that question. That is very kind of a way to kind of interact with your peers, right? Then we have other articles about Turkey, but I don't want to talk about that one. I want to go back to this. And I'm going to, let's see if I can see if we could do, where's the other one? العين. Okay, there's this one. أوجه الشبه بين زلزال المغرب وكارثة تركيا وسوريا. Again, this one is we're talking about زلزال. This is Maghreb. They are actually telling you the differences. A lot of reading. Do you want to do all of it? No, but students who are interested might be able to read it. You always, on my recommendation, give them that website, give them the Tashkil website. But the most important thing, what is the assignment, professor? Here you go. This is the only assignment that you have. That's what you want to do. I have a box in here. I want you to actually, let me see if I can put it in your page so it'll be easy. Here you go. This is what you're going to do. Okay, there's the Zal al-Maghrib, that's in Morocco, and that's Syria, Turkey. The date. Tell me which date. The article says a lot of things. Tell me the daraja. Is it the same? قتلى, how many people died? Right. جرحى, how many people were injured? متشردة, how many people left without houses? How about معالم أثرية? What happened there? Were they destroyed? That article will tell you some of the most important, that with naming the most important places that were destroyed because of that earthquake. And it's really interesting because now they're going to talk about that place. And I would take it a little bit further and tell students, okay, we're going to put it on discussion board, the answers, but I also want you to show me pictures before and after. That mosque that was destroyed, how does it look like? قلعة, they have a whole قلعة, a font that was destroyed in Turkey. Okay, ردة فعل العالم is really interesting. And I thought about it because it's almost similar. And though Syria had a lot of crisis, and Turkey might not be as, some countries don't, have Syria, like let's say Turkey and Armenia, or Turkey and Greece and Syria, they might have said no, but and Maghreb and Aljazair. You notice that everybody says we would like to help, but it would be interesting to see how did they help? How did they support? And it's really interesting because the Moroccans went and helped in Syria and Turkey, but suddenly they had it at the same time. It is interesting, right? And Al Madiyah, how much did they lose? And not only money, but also like property and all of that. And when you do the comparison in this situation, students have more like a relief. They don't have to read the whole article. Some of them literally they're going to Google it and get the answers. Guess what? So what? They already learned new vocabulary. All of that is new vocabulary for them, most of it, right? Even if they go and Google it. However, those who don't want to Google, you have already an article telling them, this is the article, you don't have to go too far, even if Google is going to give you more numbers, right? That article was published date so-and-so. Unfortunately, there are still people under the level. They're still, unfortunately, right? So that's another assignment that I felt it was something that I would do for any other topic. I mean, you could always do anything. You could do that صار في درنا and that صار in here, for example, in Hawaii, right? Anything. You could do it with comparison without writing a lot of vocabulary, because here it's all, most of it are actually numbers. So if you're trying to teach students the numbers that we use in the Arab world, which is not the Arabic numerals, maybe you could do that as well, write it in both numbers, the Arabic numerals and the Indian numerals that we are using them.
Yeah.
So I hope you enjoyed this topic, and I hope you benefit from this topic. It is a lot of stuff, and believe me, I was going to do more, but I was like, you know what? I'm like, there's 19. So I was like, girl, maybe you can just limit it to that.
Lovely. Just to digest it. This is
Thank
lovely.
you. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you so much, Sana. This was just incredible, all the resources and how much you put into it. So we're so grateful. I want to let, of course, people can obviously go, or if there's any questions before we take off.
Just